So when you're in the throes of this kind of treatment, of this terrible, hellish experience, what they do is they take all of that terrible shame and fear and guilt and anger, and then they provoke you, right? Because they know your weak spots, so they're going to jab you and hit you with this and hit you with that, all the while they're doing their show just to watch your reaction. And the moment you react, the tables turn and you become the demon. That's the aim. Don't fall for the trap. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me here on my channel, Soul GPS, where we learn to take our life back in our hands after narcissistic abuse. The topic for today was actually inspired by a comment that I received on one of my recent videos, and it deals with the idea that when confronted by narcissistic rage, sometimes what happens is it looks literally as if the narcissist is possessed by a demon. Eyes can get bloodshot. They look like they're not even human. So today I wanted to dive into that, why that happens, and just give my best to explain, just based on what I know. It's by no means a complete picture, but I'm gonna try to pull from all sorts of disciplines in order to shed some light on this, what I think is quite the phenomenon, and it can be absolutely frightening. So in my own life, I have witnessed several people who have gone through this form of reaction, if I may call it. One of the most terrifying ones was my last ex. It was an extremely frightening experience that left me feeling as if my own mind was shattered. It was really difficult to make sense of it because I kept flashing back to knowing how wonderful that person could be. So now what? What happened? What happened? And I remember even feeling like I wanted it to be my fault just so that I could resolve it, because I knew that I could. The idea that it was not my doing was actually frightening to me, because then I knew it was out of my control. So I tried to examine it and look at it from every direction and let him kind of go at it, if you will, so that I was able to really gauge what was going on. And honestly, I got lost very quickly. It was like being lost in a labyrinth of madness. So yes, it can be extremely, extremely scary. They can be overcome by avalanche of emotions, most of them on the more frightening spectrum, which are fear, which are shame, which are just absolute terror. It is as if they're trying to scare the wits out of me, right, to provoke me. Now remember, I said that in my previous video about how to obliterate the narcissist. They have one agenda mainly, and that agenda is, once, of course, besides garnering supply from you, once it gets down a stage, right, once they have you, once you start seeing different parts of them, once they start to expose the whole gamut of crazy making, what they want to do is they want to provoke you, right, so that it is not their fault, so you're the one who looks crazy. Like, they can do that projection really smoothly. So when that rage comes out, when you're faced with, the mask slipping and revealing the true visage of the narcissist, it can be truly frightening experience. Now, why does it happen? Why is it like this? Are they really getting possessed? Is it an actual demon entering in? Well, I have been thinking about that, and I will say that I will not exclude the idea that someone can get possessed. I just don't know enough about this. And I used to be much more into studying the paranormal phenomena and occultism back when I was younger. But later, as I grew older, still growing up, I started to look more at the science of things, because just getting sort of like this ethereal explanation, because spiritualities can be very vague, it can be very amorphous. It's almost as if a lot of things are left to an individual interpretation, right? So I was getting lost in a lot of it. So I thought, well, let's get to some concrete facts, right? And so that led me to study the brain and to study the emotional reactions that people have, and trauma and psychology, and go deeper and deeper and deeper, especially in the context of narcissistic abuse, which was really relevant to my own experience because it's been going on in my life for as long as I can remember. So here's what I have found out. You know, our brain is divided into several different areas that play specific roles, play specific functions. And on a very simplistic level, I apologize, there's a car passing by. There are not many cars here. I'm in a very remote Slovenian village with, I think, like 100 people living here or something. But there is the occasional car, so I apologize. So on the most simplistic level, we have two brains, right? We have the thinking brain, the one that's responsible for logic. Like, for instance, when I was preparing to do this video, I jotted down some notes. I was trying to think of a structure. It always falls apart when I start talking anyway, but you know, it's a logical, mathematical brain that deals with patterns, and you make a goal and you accomplish it, right? So it is, they say it's the crowning jewel of humanity, because no other animal has it on this planet has it developed to the degree that we do. So we have the ability to actually think about our thoughts, which is amazing, right? Because we can change our thinking. So the other brain is the limbic brain, and that is the older part of the brain that deals with our emotions. And some of the most primal emotions that we deal with are fear and anger. I think these are the most survival-based emotions. So the reason why they have developed in this way is because, of course, it's for our survival. So our brain, in many ways, especially when we are caught in the throes of an emotional reaction, the brain does us a disservice because it shuts off the thinking brain, it shuts off digestion, it shuts off many different functions of the body, because its sole focus, its sole aim is to make sure that we survive. So when we're afraid, you know, all sorts of neurotransmitters and chemicals begin to pump through our brain, such as cortisol, to make us run for our life. And we're actually the only animal on our planet that can have this state induced by mere thought, because we really don't have tigers chasing us these days, right? We live in a very different reality, but we still can slip into those states. So the narcissist has a very, very underdeveloped thinking center. That's what the studies say. So they have this tendency to keep slipping back into their limbic brain, into the emotional brain, which makes them very much so at the mercy of their emotions. So, and the emotions that are the most prevalent inside of the narcissistic mind are actually fear and shame. It is the fear of the shame being uncovered. This shame is that there are two different kinds of shame. We're talking about healthy shame, which is, for instance, you know, you don't walk out naked on the balcony for all to see, or, you know, there's certain practices and things that you would probably refrain from because it's just not your thing. So it forms morality, which is a really healthy thing to have. Where toxic shame, it's being ashamed basically of yourself. Just when it's extreme, it's like you're ashamed just for the fact that you exist. It's really horrible, and it is something that tends to happen when we are raised in very toxic, violent environments, homes, right, where the child is constantly being ignored or is being traumatized by being bullied by the siblings, or the parents say things to them like, you're worthless, you can't do and this or that, look at you, you idiot, and, you know, I mean, there are all sorts of terrible things that child is being told. But sometimes just the mere fact that a child is neglected, they feel like they are not visible, they feel like they're a bother, can create this tremendous sense of toxic shame. So what happens with the narcissist is that I think, and this is not my idea. This is something I have studied, I have learned, I've heard other people say, people who know way more than I do, but it just rings of truth. The mind of the narcissist forms most likely by, on the one hand, having somebody shame them, make them feel like they're just worthless, and on the other hand, somebody else comes in and tells the child the exact opposite, which is that they're actually amazing, they're super smart, and you know, they're just brilliant and beautiful and this and that. So which one feels better, right? Of course, the one that feels better is the positive, is that they feel they're amazing, they are the wonder child. But because it doesn't quite feel right, it doesn't quite feel true, and the other side, that the I'm unworthy, keeps on kind of slipping in through the cracks, they have to fight for a very long time, constantly, to prevent themselves from believing that they're worthless. So it's like an internal war. This is, I think, the origin of cognitive dissonance inside of the narcissistic mind, which then, if you spend a lot of time around them, will be projected onto you. So what happens here, I need to look at my notes, is they have this fake persona, right? The first is the shame. That is negative, and that is fake too, because no child is worthless. And then they have this grandiosity, this thing that sits over it, and they protect it, they guard it with their life. So when you confront them, right, years later, after they've already been doing this for a long, long time, when you confront them and that grandiose side of them is threatened, they are going to fight to the death in order to protect it. So that's why you're seeing this very primitive emotion of fear come out, and aggression. They're fighting and fighting so that you do not see that shameful core. They don't want to see it either. It's like a ghost that has been haunting them since childhood, and they always want to push it away, push it away. So that's why you see this. It's almost like an animalistic sight, right? Their eyes get bloodshot, and they just lose it. And I wonder whether there is also the reason why in mythical lore, a lot of devils, demons have been portrayed as animals, right? They have been portrayed as goats, or, I'm sorry about the cars. I hope you can hear me okay. I've been having some trouble with my mic, so I'm doing this without a mic. I hope this works. So I think that this is why it's demonic, and why demons are portrayed as animals is because maybe back in the day, before people had the ability to, speak in psychological terms or do scientific experiments, they're trying to make sense out of it. So they have built these stories, they have built these myths, right? Which myths are true. Myths are not about something fictional. Myths are a way through storytelling to make sense out of very confusing reality, right? So this is why I wonder whether we associate demons with animal heads, why they were portrayed this way, is because once you tap into that core of pure instinct, pure survival, it is animalistic, it is demonic. So I don't know whether it's possession, but I do know it is extremely scary. And looking back at the narcissist's mind, and how it gets formed, you have this shame, this put downs, and then this grandiose side. You might think like that's you might want to pity them, right? Like, wow, what this like horrible experience to be had. And I thought about it, but then I thought of all the things that they have done, right? I thought about the episode with my family. I thought about the episode with my ex, one ex, second ex, third ex, and how, while I was really there for them, wanting to love them and just hug them and tell them that it's going to be okay, they would lash out and they would try to make me feel like I was the crazy one. I was like, no, there's no pity. The reason why is they're not crazy. It's crazy making, but it's not craziness. It's like they haven't checked out from their mind. They're still conscious. They're still making a choice to treat you this way. They're still making a choice to say these things. I mean, is it really that difficult to be kind? Well, I guess apparently it is. Apparently it is. So the thing to remember is that they're fighting for their survival when they're confronting you, or when you're confronting them. So don't take it personally. It's not you. you're really not doing anything wrong. It is them feeling threatened that you are going to unmask them, that you're going to expose their wound, that you're going to expose that shameful core that they've been trying to run away from all of their life. So what is it that you can do in order to handle this when you're in this frightening situation? Well, I think one of the best things you can do is literally to just get away and walk away. I remember when I had my last, the grand finale moment with my ex, he was able to, at 2 in the morning, get in a car with his license suspended and drive off with the squeak of his tires, leaving me in tears in the middle of nowhere, shaking. If they can do that, if they can just walk away, why can't we, right? So if you're feeling like you're falling into this downward spiral of insanity, just say, you know, let's talk about this when you feel better, and walk away, and just go, just leave, right? Because to subject yourself to this kind of treatment is, you don't have to do that. You do not have to do that. Nobody told you that you have to do that. Actually, you've been probably trained in your childhood by your parents or somebody, you know, to take on all this hurt. That's why you probably have very high pain threshold, and that's why their abuse tends to escalate, gets worse over time, because you know how to take a lot of pain. So here's what my message to you: protect yourself. Protect yourself from these people. If you are witnessing this frightening rage by the narcissist, get away, walk away. You do not have to subject yourself to their treatment. You really do not. Trust yourself, trust that feeling, and know this: once you get more distance, ideally go no contact with all these toxic people, identify them in your life and move away as far as you can. You're going to start to notice a peace settle within you. I'm telling you this because a few months ago I didn't want to go on. I've said that in my other videos. This last experience left me so shattered. There was not a single tree left in the field. It was like a hurricane went through and I was just done, right? But I stuck with it, and I listened to these videos, and I did work on myself, and I found the root of the abuse and what it was for me. And I started to do self-forgiveness work. Not forgiveness with the other, but self-forgiveness first, right? Because what they have done, it's not easy to forgive this. I don't know if it actually should be forgiven too soon, because we need to first and foremost realize that it wasn't our fault that this happened to us. We were victims of terrible abuse, period. End of sentence. But now, moving forward, we have the power to make this life, this experience, into anything we want. And I guarantee you, once you do this work on yourself, you're going to feel this peace. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel, in fact, wonderful. You can have whatever you want in your life. Once you get all these obstacles, these people are like obstacles. They keep on just putting grenades under our feet. And it doesn't just happen to us individually. I think it's happening on a world scale right now. If we just look around, I mean, I've been traveling through like villages, right, where I feel there's very little narcissism here, and people are living in this really peaceful, simple existence. And then I go into cities and places like that, and it's just like you feel it. It's like it's everywhere, and we have to fight it. And the way we fight it is we take a stand for ourselves. We take a stand for our sanity. We protect it, and we say no to narcissistic abuse. So I hope this video helped you. Let me know if you did. Leave comments. If you have ideas about this whole demonic possession and thoughts, let us know. Let's have a conversation about this. I think this is a fascinating topic, and I know I have barely scratched the surface. So again, let me know what you thought. Subscribe if you like the video. I have way more coming. Join me on Facebook, My Soul GPS, I believe. Facebook/MySoulGPS. The link is below. And so to join the community so we can have even more of an open conversation about this. And I wish you all the best. And remember to always let your inner compass guide you. Thank you for your attention, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.